I think Kattar might have respected the power of Emmett too much. But then when I was watching in those early rounds, from rounds 1 till 3, a lot of those punches I felt that Emmett was landing were being blocked or hit on the, like, when I say blocked, I mean it's just hitting on the forearm or hitting on the elbow or the shoulder. Because, he was loading up, dropping his level, and then coming with those big right hands, those big left hooks. But I didn't feel like they were landing clean like Kattar's jab. When Kattar was landing the jab, I felt like that was a lot cleaner of his strikes than Emmett landing the big shots that were moving him. And I heard the commentators talking about it. Oh, when Emmett lands, he moves him. There's a big difference in the power. Like, yeah, there's a big difference in the power. But who's actually landing the cleaner, significant strike? And I think early in the fight, you could see the eye of Emmett was being affected really, really early on. So for me, those first 2 rounds were really close. First round, I think, could have gone either way, but I think the guy that landed the more significant strike, let me not say significant, because a jab is a jab. But a jab with those 4-ounce gloves, that can make a strike like that significant, because it could be a lot more impactful. And as you saw, he cut Emmett pretty early on in that fight, and I think that might have actually happened in the first round via the jab. So I think that has to be somewhat counted as a significant strike, in my opinion. Later on, I think Kattar won the 5th round decisively. The 4th round was a little tough, but I thought Kattar might have edged him out, landing some of those big elbows. But then Emmett was having his moments with those big hooks again, going to the body. And I think that was probably the difference for me in maybe that second round, where I felt like Emmett was going to the body a little bit more, which was landing a lot cleaner than the strikes he was throwing up top. But he started picking up on the volume, where I think Kattar was kind of falling behind on volume, but being more effective with the percentages. But Emmett throwing more volume, landing clean to the body, big shots to the body, and then coming up top. I'm surprised Kattar didn't wince or anything like that when he was getting hit with some of those shots to the body. And there was that one spinning elbow Kattar landed that was nasty. He threw a knee. Emmett stepped in, threw a big hook, and Kattar spun through. He threw a right knee up the middle. He spun through and hit him with the left elbow. And I'm like, dude, there's no way you're telling me Josh Emmett is not hurt right now. How do you not know, if you land that, to not just go after that guy? And, even not go after him, start swarming, oh, I got him rocked, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. But you go after him as in terms of stalking him, putting the pressure on. And he did walk forward, but it wasn't walking forward knowing that he had the guy hurt. And I think that was the difference in that 4th round, because then he swung something else and he kind of fell off balance when Kattar hit him with a 1-2 right after that. And I think that could have been the difference in really swaying the judges and possibly even getting a 10-8 round. If he had maybe followed up, he could have maybe dropped him, really dropped him, and while he had him compromised and hurt. But Emmett, tough dude. I do think him getting the next shot, split decision, but I still think he's the guy that's right there. Zabit just retired, so I don't know who else would be in that title conversation after Max Holloway and Volkanovski 3. So it's a very tricky situation for the featherweight division. I know you got Brendan Allen, you got Bryce Mitchell. Who else is there? Giga Chikadze, but he just lost to Kattar. Now Kattar just lost to Emmett. You got that kid Evloev who's coming up, 5'7". The guy's a demon. So there's a lot of good guys at featherweight right now. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but I think Emmett has to be a shoe-in for the next title shot, just in my personal opinion. I don't think that was his best performance, but then what is a best performance in comparison to fighting one of the top guys in the world, So it's one thing to have those type of performances against guys who aren't as skilled as you, but then to have that type of performance against a guy like Kattar or a Giga, those are going to be a little bit harder things to accomplish. Oh, yeah, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega right there as well. Both guys looking to either Ortega stay in the title conversation or Yair enter into the title shot conversation, So I could also see that, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. But these guys all got fights, So maybe Emmett's, who's it?
I was going to say maybe aren't Brian and Yair fighting? Or who's Brian fighting?
Ortega is fighting Yair.
So if they maybe loser of that, Josh Emmett fights?
They could do that, but then you kind of knock off a contender, I feel like. because not even knock off a contender. I think Emmett should be fighting a guy coming off of a win. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be fighting anyone coming off of a loss. But then Ortega just fought for the belt. Yair hasn't fought for the belt. So if Yair were to win, he's a shoe-in also, I think, for a title shot. Depending on whoever wins. But then, well, if Max wins, then they can't really do a rematch. Then maybe Josh Emmett enters the conversation. But then if Volkanovski wins, he hasn't fought Yair Rodriguez. So maybe that could be the conversation right there. So it's a tricky situation, man.
Josh Emmett was number 7. Kattar was number 4. Do you think Kattar and Josh Emmett will switch spots in the rankings? Or like, do you think Josh Emmett will be top 5 at least?
Emmett will be top 5. He has to be. He has to be. I think there's no other spot for him, 4 or 5. I mean, who else would you bump up? I think it'd be a little tough thing to do to not put him in that top 5 situation. I think he deserves a top 5 opponent, or he could be sitting down just waiting for the winner of the fight, international fight, which is in 2 weeks. He just fought. He's going to be out for a little bit, so I think you give him some time to kind of recover. You could throw him right in there, right in the mix towards the end of the year, or